Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining us on this presentation. We are Team 같이, 공nhau, sama-sama, 이치, which all means together in English. And our topic for this presentation is refugees and SDG 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. We are mainly going to discuss about the journey of immigrants and refugees seeking safety and stability in the face of war and climate change. Table of contents. The first part of our presentation will be about students' information, then we'll introduce our topic about refugees. Afterward, we'll explain SDG 16 and migrant, and then SDG 13 and migrant. Last but not least, the solutions and action plans for these problems, and additionally, the reference page of our research. This is the list of our team members. We have 3 speakers, Sungyoon Moon, Dayoon Kang, Han Lin, and we had other 3 members as creator, which are Yeeun Kim, Isabelle, Ferrer, Khanh Doan. And now Clement will take the lead to briefly introduce our topic.
Thank you, Olivia. Before starting the relations of refugees and SDGs, I will talk about why are migrants important. As the Russian-Ukraine war continues, more and more refugees are separated around the world. The United Nations estimates there are over 30 million refugees in the world. These places help people who have fled across a border to escape conflicts, disasters, or persecution. On top of this, UNHCR, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, estimates there are over 15 million internally displaced people globally. But why should we care about them? And what else are their impacts on the whole global situation? Let us begin. We will start with humanitarian significance. I think most importantly, accepting them protects the most precious right of all, the right to live. Turning our backs to the refugees in many cases could be fatal for them. Thus, accepting refugees, providing the most basic protection is, in many cases, life-saving. Accepting refugees is also a win for the receiving country and communities that host them. While the host country shelters and protects the refugees, they give them the right to work, will be able to become productive members of society, and will be able to make the host country more welfare enhanced. Next is the economic side of significance. Because when people migrate, the economy is also affected even by just a little change. It's been shown that when able to, refugees can provide a significant economic boost to countries that host them. Refugees are often young, eager to learn, dynamic, and bring a very wealth and cultural experiences that can help them excel economically when given the chance. Also, economic migration is related to poor labor standards, high unemployment, and the overall health of a country's economy. Poor factors include higher wages, better employment opportunities, a higher standard of living, and educational opportunities. If economic conditions are not favorable and appear to be at risk of declining further, a great number of people will probably migrate to countries with a better outlook. After the economic impact, there is also the social impact. Persecution causes people to become refugees because of one's ethnicity, religion, race, politics, or culture can push people to leave their country. A major factor is war, which my members will talk about later more, and also conflict, government persecution, or there being a significant risk of them. Those fleeing armed conflict, human rights violations, or persecution are more likely to be humanitarian refugees. This will affect where they settle, as some countries have more liberal approaches to humanitarian migrants than others. In the first instance, these people are likely to move to the nearest country with safe than that accepts asylum seekers. Along with the persecution, refugees also bring a lot of diverse cultural backgrounds and experiences to host communities. We all know refugees can come from anywhere. So when refugees come, it also clashes with the original culture, then becoming a new culture or a remix and combine. Finally, we also need to think of a way to deal with the refugees. Although they are bringing benefits, there are still people that lost their home or can't return back. So a huge policy is to help and support these migrants to a better life. It is a win for the refugees for obvious reasons. The earlier a state commits to protecting refugees, the earlier they can move forward with their lives without uncertainty blocking the way. Most importantly, accepting them protects the most precious rights of all, the right to live, which I had mentioned earlier. The EU has been encouraging legal migration to address labor shortages, fill skill gaps, and boost economic growth, including the EU Blue Card for non-EU citizens to work and live, the single permit, which combines work and residency, and EU long-term resident status also allows people from outside the EU to stay and to work freely.
People migrate for many reasons. The main reason I will talk about is people migrating in order to be safe or to get away from the wars. This is also familiar to the SDG 16, which stands for peace, justice, and strong institutions. Wars are something that no one wants, and it's very hard for people to survive during the war. So they will choose to migrate in order to get justice. I'm pretty sure you know all about the Ukraine and Russian war. Many people died and got hurt because of that. Ukraine has 7 million displaced people, and that includes little children too. But most of the displaced people are rejected in Pakistan, Syria, etc. So that means there won't be many places for them to stay safely. Because of this, people need to migrate to another place to have a safe life. I want to share one short video of refugees affected by Ukraine war. Ukraine war creates largest refugee crisis.
It's been a month of lives ripped up, a generation driven out, certainty torn apart. A month that we've been here, seeing the heartbreak of the sick forced to flee, but compassion too of hearts and homes opened, of the democratic world standing up to the aggressor. 4 weeks on, the only change is warmer weather. The arrivals keep coming, seeking safety from a war some don't understand, welcomed where Poland can put them. This a school, a smile for the kids at the ready. Inside, volunteers bring comfort after an exhausting journey. Yulia Kirienko and her sons fled Kiev, her husband staying to fight.
Children were killed and teenage girls were raped. We had to leave. They were shooting at the cars as we tried to escape. We prayed as we drove. It's good here, but we want to go home. I just want this to end.
The trauma on the youngest could take years to show and last a lifetime. Olga Oleshko's little ones already feel it.
They were asking why helicopters were flying, why there were sirens, why people were dying. I had to explain it in a way that didn't hurt them.
At the start of the invasion, we watched as panic prompted the immediate first rush to escape. But these are the people who didn't want to leave, thinking they could stick it out, that the bombs might stop. But they didn't stop, and more than 3.5 million refugees later, there's a growing feeling of the long term about this, with all the challenges that will entail. Destination, Warsaw, whose population is up by almost a fifth. New arrivals given ID numbers and school places. They have a journey to safety, but their country still has no passage to peace.
As you can see from the video, war not only claims lives, but also robs people of their livelihoods. The Ukraine war has resulted in numerous individuals losing their homes and being displaced due to safety concerns. So they had to leave their home to survive. However, many people are sad and homesick. This is a grave issue directly related to SDG 16, which focuses on peace. Many children are dying for many reasons. For example, possibilities of catching disease will increase since there are many people in one refugee. Migrants could also face many challenges during migration, And the biggest and most common challenges are cultural differences and different languages. It is hard for them because they can't talk or live in a country where no one understands them. Also, cultural differences are a challenge for migrants too. It would be hard for them to survive in a new culture and new climate. In short, migrant encompasses a multitude of reasons and one of the fundamental aspirations that drive individuals to relocate the pursuit of peace and justice. In a world where conflicts can erupt at any time and at any corner of the globe, those seeking safety and security often choose the path of migration as a means to escape the ravages of war and instability. The ability to forge a future free from the perils of violence and oppression becomes a paramount concern of individuals and families alike. However, they could also face many challenges during those migrations, as I mentioned. So we should support them to have a better life without many difficulties. By championing the cause of migrants and creating an environment that nurtures their potential, we take a significant stride towards building a future characterized by harmony, understanding, and global solidarity.
Today, I will explain an issue of the intersection of Sustainable Development Goal 13 and the challenges faced by migrants, particularly climate migrants and refugees. SDG 13, also known as climate action, urges us to take urgent steps to combat climate change and its impacts. However, it is crucial to recognize that climate change is not just an environmental issue. It is also a humanitarian crisis that affects the lives of millions of people, especially those who are forced to migrate due to its consequences. Rising sea levels, extreme weather events, and unpredictable shifts in climate patterns have already begun to reshape the map of our planet, rendering certain areas uninhabitable and forcing people to abandon their homes of safety and security. According to UNHCR's estimations, 117.2 million people will be forcibly displaced or stateless in 2023 worldwide. There are lots of unfair refugees moving to other countries every year. The one reason that I'm going to talk about is the environmental effect. This shows that this problem is also connected to SDG 13, climate action. When we think about environmental effects, there will be climate change, global warming, and others. Did you know that these natural disasters can also make lots of refugees? Climate refugees are the people who must leave their hometown because of the danger of climate change and global warming. Climate change happens because of natural events such as volcanic eruptions, which are caused by some natural causes, and also humans' actions. We cannot forget our other cause, which is global warming. This natural disaster, global warming, is caused by humans burning fossil fuels and humans making deforestations. So, the basic solution for global warming can be making a greenhouse. Many developing countries can suffer from using their own money and workers to build greenhouses. Therefore, we can find some organizations that can support workers and money to build greenhouses in developing countries. For example, there is an organization called IRC, which is the International Rescue Committee. IRC is a global humanitarian aid, relief, and development non-governmental organization. This organization is currently supporting Afghanistan, which is a developing country for various problems inside the country. Another environmental problem that we have to focus on right now is a sea level rise. When sea level rises, changes in salinity alter seawater density, which can change major ocean currents that transport heat through the ocean driven by the currents, which stimulates more climate changes. As global temperatures continue to warm, additional sea level rise is inevitable. How much and by when depends mostly on the future rate of greenhouse gas emissions. But another source of uncertainty is whether big ice sheets in Antarctica and Greenland will melt in a steady, predictable way as the Earth gets warmer, or whether they will reach a tipping point and rapidly collapse. We cannot just wait until extreme climate change, global warming, and world extinction. We should do something to make a safer world. One solution that I thought of is to construct a new infrastructure. Construct new infrastructure, flood barriers, to protect critical infrastructure including levees, dikes, and seawalls, and so on. In conclusion, the intersection of Sustainable Development Goal 13 and the challenges faced by climate migrants and refugees highlights the urgent need for climate action. Climate change is not only an environmental issue, but a humanitarian crisis affecting millions of people worldwide, forcing them to migrate in search of safety. By recognizing the intersection between climate action and the challenges faced by migrants, particularly climate migrants and refugees, we can work towards a more sustainable and inclusive future. Perhaps we have been more accustomed to thinking of refugees in the context of conflict and war, and have overlooked the issue of climate-included displacement. However, it is crucial to recognize that addressing the challenges faced by climate refugees is essential for the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. From protecting the environment to ensuring the well-being of refugees, our collective efforts are needed. It is imperative that we take immediate and concerted action to combat climate change, protect vulnerable populations, and create a world where the consequences of climate change do not force people to abandon their homes.
Some people may see refugees as burdens, but they are actually a great help to our society, so we must go help them. We can do many things to help them, either through social media or by assisting them get a job, find shelter, and many more. We can help the refugees to integrate to a new culture, informing other people about their hard journey and encouraging them to help refugees. But most of all is to inform other people to make a big impact. Since the more and more people will know their story and will be willing to help them. Other people might even make a campaign for refugees, which will draw more attention. To solve the problem of the refugees, it is very important for us to work together. Like Helen Keller said, alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. So let us stand together and reach out to refugees. Here are some ways on how we can have a big impact on refugees' lives. If you see refugees newly welcome in your community, the best thing we can do is to donate and help them get a job. We may donate things we don't use but are in good conditions. They need a fair chance. For example, in my elementary school, there are donations towards migrants and also refugees behind natural disasters. Aside from donations, we can still do something small but important to help the refugees. We are part of the power of education and speeches. When we stand out and show our hope for a better world, the world will also see it. And the attention and the awareness on the migrants will eventually raise. That is what we are wishing for, a world that collaborates to solve global issues. I believe we don't need to use a lot of time and money to raise awareness. To help is to help whether you are rich or poor. Because when you stand up and fight for justice, justice will also stand up on your side. Another impactful approach is producing short-form videos that shed light on the plight of refugees. These videos can be shared on social media platforms, reaching a wider audience. By sharing the stories and challenges faced by refugees, you can raise awareness and inspire others to support them. Student initiatives and short-form videos have the power to send a message of hope and solidarity to refugees. Through the active involvement and dedication for students, These initiatives can contribute to improving the lives of refugees and fostering global understanding and empathy. In conclusion, refugees have a very important role to play. That's why we should help them to get a job, a home, and have access to natural resources. Refugees are very important to society, but without peace, justice, and inclusion, it may be difficult to achieve an end to poverty, ensuring education and economic growth. So we should show them that we can help. Thank you.